you're turning the page. Don't know anymore, I don't know anymore. It all first.
2017 Hot 6 GSL Season 3 Code S.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the GSL Code S. Tastes and our toasts are back. It is a sleepy, muggy Saturday afternoon. But here in the studio, we got some pretty godlike players duking it out.
Yeah.
Definitely two favorites and then two underdogs.
A couple recent champions in Byun and Stats. So definitely going to be a good day of games. Tell your friends.
오늘 D조 경기가
Join us,
끝나면
GSL Code, hashtag GSL.
일정이 소화되는데요. 다음 주 4개 조의 경기가 모두 펼쳐지고 나면 이후에는 많은 선수들이 참가하는
I will be pleasantly surprised and frankly shocked if they don't.
초에 개회하는
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously big favorites. If someone's going to make an upset, though, I think Forte could upset Stats possibly. But
오늘 8월 3일부터
guess we'll see.
나흘 연속 펼쳐질
By the way, guys, GSL versus the world.
dates are up.
4일에는 16강전이, 5일에는 8강전과
And we are going to be having the Sunday final somewhere special, so definitely join us there at Kyunghee University.
Nice.
The polls are up online. Vote for your favorite players. Vote our toasts in there. Get them in there.
I'm not in the list. Please do not rate.
If you really want the Koreans to win, you can vote for me to get in there when I can play with my wrist that's injured and just, you know, I'm sitting there with the Oculus Rift on and the two wands waving around. Unfortunately, it's not set up to play on StarCraft 2 yet.
There are the invites you see, the top-ranked players from both sides. Going to be amazing. I love the World All-Stars that are already in there, and of course the GSL ones as well, very well deserving. And those are the votes per race. In spot wildcard versus the Chinese representative, I saw.
So I'm very much looking forward to this match. I think this is going to be one of the most hyped things actually ever in StarCraft 2 is the GSL versus the world.
Yeah, this is going to be really legit. Like, no matter who gets voted in, these are all complete badass killers. And the four invited from both sides, I mean, if anyone doesn't want to see Neeb go up against these Koreans before BlizzCon, then you're crazy.
Dude, I want my boy Neeb in this. I want him taking out these Koreans. If we have the world beat GSL, that's it, man. That's when we actually just end esports. We're like, okay, it's over. It's done. We can end this great, brilliant experiment that the human race tried out. That's called esports.
아무래도 후회가 좀 많이 남죠. 그 지난 8강전 이런 경기를 되짚어 보면은 조금 너무 이런 그 김도우 선수의 이런 준비성에 너무 허무하게 이렇게 경기를 내준 것 같아서 조금 후회가 많이 남는 시즌이었는데 이번 시즌에는 그 후회를 충분히 풀 만큼의 이런 경기력을 보여드려야죠.
기분은 많이 나빴어요. 너무 어려워가지고.
이번 연도 GSL 첫 상대들이 다들 쟁쟁하시네. 그 감탄한 게 아닙니다, 그거. 제가 마음속으로는 뭐지?
다른 조에 비해서 조금 괜찮다 싶었어요. 최소한 2등 진출을 하겠구나 생각은 했어요.
바로 딱 눈에 들어오더라고요. 바로 변현우 선수가 좀 눈에 많이 걸리네요.
변현우 선수.
현우한테 제가 작년에 좀 진 것도 있고 해서 이번에 소력했으면 좋겠고.
어렵진 않은데 그래도 김대엽 선수가 좀 많이 잘하긴 하죠. 제가 지지난 시즌 탈락했을 때 32강 같은 조였거든요. 그래서 뭐 복수할 겸 또 근데 해도 질 것 같아요.
두 번 우승을 한 번 더 해보고 싶어요. 제가 처음에 우승했었을 때는 이게 처음 하고 그러다 보니까 이게 뭔 느낌인지 잘 몰라가지고 되게 좀 어버버 했었거든요. 그때는 내가 진짜 우승한 건가, 이게 우승한 게 맞나 이렇게 싶을 정도로. 근데 이번에 두 번째 우승을 해서 그 우승한 기분을 한번 그때는 제대로 다시 한번 느껴보고 싶기 때문에 이번 시즌 슬슬할 데가 없습니다.
사실 당장의 블리즈컨은 너무 먼 얘기 같고 이제 매번 32강에서 떨어졌는데 대진 뜨기 전까지는 이번에는 진짜 열심히 준비해서 16강 가보자 라는 생각을 했는데 사실 대진 뜨고 약간 좀 마음이 이거 좀 아닌가 싶었는데 그래도 마음 먹었으니까 열심히 해서 16강 노려볼 수 있도록 열심히 준비해 보겠습니다.
저번 시즌도 좀 보여드리고 싶은 마음이 컸는데 그러지 못했기 때문에 이번 시즌은 뭐 그냥 성적에 상관없이 일단은 좋은 경기력 보여드리는 게 목표고요. 좋은 경기 보여드릴 수 있으면 성적은 따라올 것 같습니다.
그러니까 우승 안 해도 최소 결승만 가도 진출을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 그래서 직행까지는 바라지 않고 그러니까 최소 결승까지 가서 또 작년에 결승 무대 2번이나 밟았으니까 그때 기분을 한번 좀 느껴보고 싶어요.
All right, we are very close to hopping into this match. I think I'm correct in saying this, but Byun is the biggest fan favorite that we have right now in StarCraft 2. Is that correct? I think a lot of people would say innovation,
right.
but I think Byun is just there. He's got the charisma. He's really good, but also I think that his style of play is so inspirational.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch and everything as well. Like, you don't really get bored watching Byun play. He's got new highlights all the time. But, you know, out of this group, obviously you're looking at Stats and Byun as the favorites. But, I mean, we have a couple other players here with some good skills. Forte, of course, knocking Byul out of the tournament. Byul is not playing in Codes, guys. Like, we had two big upsets. Zest and Byul will not be playing at all this season.
Byul on the back of milk cartons, man.
Yeah.
People saying, where is he?
He's gone. Forte killed him. So, Forte is in good shape. You know, we'll see how he can do tonight. I feel like the most likely upset that we can have is I could see Forte maybe taking down Stats. Like, if you are not really prepared for your PBTs here, definitely a strong Terran can knock you out. We've seen this occasionally in the Codes to some of these top Protosses. When they do get upset and surprised, it's generally a really good Terran that does, or not a really good Terran that wouldn't be a surprise or an upset. That would just, it'd be like one of the lower level Terrans, right? Like when Zest was eliminated by like Keen, for instance, right? I feel like
that's
this
actually
is
a very good example.
Yeah, this is kind of a similar thing where it's like, okay, Stats is one of the absolute best in the world, but if he's not super ready to play a killer PvT, he could go down to Forte. I don't think it will happen, but Forte is in good shape. You take out Byul, you can really take out anyone.
Now, Stats, we've been casting a lot of Stats lately. This guy is always a little bit better than the last tournament he played in.
Yeah.
He's not somebody that's yo-yoed in their career like Zest has. No offense to Zest, but there was a period where Zest was basically, people were saying, you know, he's the best currently alive right now. Not that we have a bunch of dead StarCraft 2 players, it's kind of a weird metaphor, but he was the best player at that time. It just dawned on me the absurdity of ever saying he's the best player that's alive right now. I'm like, well, I mean, most of us are still here. I would say pretty much all of us are still here.
Everyone who is a pro is still alive.
Yeah, is still alive, but you guys get what I'm saying. So map 1 is going to be on Odyssey. Forte, this is a great moment to prove himself, but I will tell you, this is going to be possibly the biggest challenge of his career because he has to go up against Stats, who's been very dominant here in the first half of 2017. Let's go into game number 1 and see what happens.
You can fly, you can tell them that you tried, but there ain't no going back. They'll never catch me.
In the bottom right, in the blue, he is
Splice.
Gold.
Stats.
Gold. Gold, I tell ya.
Oh, tassels. This is kind of a funny matchup.
In the upper left, in the red, our underdog, he is
Forte.
You know, just looking at these two pros, like I look at Stats, and I'm like, oh, that's an outdoor pro gamer. That's a pro gamer. You have that pro gamer. You need to bring him outside. He needs space to run around, basically.
Absolutely.
Forte, on the other hand, this is a lap pro gamer. This is the type of pro gamer I would carry around in my purse. You know what I mean?
Thanks for coming down, guys. Hope you're enjoying the games. Yeah, you know,
he's such a cute little guy, man. He's like
he
still a very young pro gamer. For people who might remember,
up-and-comer.
The thing is, he's actually been around for a good amount of time.
But I feel like he's really starting to hit his stride in the last few years.
Absolutely right about that. But his idea was salvation. We have a couple semi-famous nerds here in the audience.
That's
with
right.
E-Mini there on the right and Walrus. Good guys.
I got to say, man, I think Stats could possibly. I've talked about Sue a lot this tournament because, you know, I mean, it's pretty hard to talk about StarCraft 2 without talking about Sue. But I will say I think Stats is also one of these players who has not gotten worse whatsoever in his play style. He seems to be getting more and more. The clay is drying, and his final form is up and coming here, and he might be one of these players that just is not going to lose. By the way, Pylon perfectly synced up with the core finishing. We're going to see a Stargate over here, presumably.
You know, I do want to say, like, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't think Stats, like, if a Protoss wins this season, it's got to be Root Hero. He's just... Hero is in the most unfathomably strong shape right now.
That is very true as well.
His recent series, like everyone I've seen, I'm like, oh my god, you're the best Protoss in the world for sure. But Stats is like someone who I always expect in like round of 8 or so, you know?
Well, the funny thing about Hero is he's the way he's grown is actually... Hold up a second. I'll talk about Hero in a minute, but it looks like this SCV actually is going to be driven out, which is a little bit annoying for the early game. Especially in the current iteration of StarCraft 2 with Legacy, where it's like you just need to get your bases up right away because you have so many workers and everything. And we actually have two guys with the same idea trying to surprise each other.
Yes, indeed.
In this game.
And definitely this can be a very dangerous thing to fight against as Stats, right? Because he's going to get right in there with the Oracle, sure, and maybe he does a lot of damage, and that would be fantastic for him.
By the way, little subtle thing here. Getting as many Marines as you can get with this Adept is actually pretty big because the Oracle's about to come in there.
True.
And we all know that things snowball pretty quickly with an Oracle.
But look at this. Without the Oracle at home to help, Hellions can screw up this mineral line very strongly. But this is going to be scary when the Oracle gets in here. Of course, a Cloaked Banshee as well going to be very scary as it goes over. This could be a super dirty game.
Yeah, well, already this is going to be pretty ugly. Oh, man, and that's actually not even where they're... I was going to say, that doesn't...
It's pretty hard to lose from here as Protoss, especially if you're Stats. It's like, we'll see what the Hellions can do. Maybe the Hellions bust in and kill like 20 probes.
Well, we need to see some anti-air here. Well, hold up a second. We're going to see the Widow Mines come in here. We're going to see how much damage they do. But yeah, definitely for momentum's sake, it is a game where it seems like Protoss is just going to have quite a lead. We have the Widow Mines coming out and kind of scrambling to burrow right over there. I think Forte is kind of falling apart here, Artosis.
But look how many probes are going down as well. 12 probes already fallen, and these Hellions are not being answered whatsoever.
Whoa.
Some crazy... Oh, my God.
That was crazy. And the probes moved there for a second. Could have actually trapped
they
him.
stacked up right there, and he continues to get shots. 20 probes going down.
Okay, so it's worker count now. It's 22 to 19.
Dude, a Cloaked Banshee is on the way. The Cloaked Banshee can kill the rest of the probes.
I believe actually Terran wins this.
I think you're right. Like, Oracle's run out of energy. So, like, the Banshee will keep firing till you kill it.
Not to mention just the fact that I think the Banshee is such a hard counter to the fact that the Protoss invested in Oracles, which sort of can counter Banshees, sort of, kind of, but not really. But let's see what the Void Ray can do here as well. Some of this is going to come down to Widow Mines. This is like a game where both players are, as odd as it sounds to say, up against the ropes. But Stats actually doubles down on his aggression. And
oh my God.
Okay, this has gotten
they are both just killing each other so hard right now. Both these guys are dead. Let's just call this one a draw.
Well, I think I was going to say that the Banshee hard counters this, but I didn't actually anticipate the Protoss completely doubling down on the aggression. I thought he was going to try to just defend the Banshee.
Yeah.
But instead, with this coming in, okay, hold up.
Well, he's got enough Widow Mines in here that, like, if they can connect, the thing is, like, most of these units outrange that, right?
Yeah, he's got it now.
Yeah.
Well, if he decides, can you go do it? Yeah, that's it. Stats wins now. There should be too much damage
22
here.
workers against 28. Yeah.
Well, no, he just sees the Widow Mines now. And as long as he doesn't screw up his control, well, hold up. That's going to connect with the Stalkers. But that should be it, right?
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We don't normally get to cast games like this, so this has been quite a ride here. But yeah, the Banshee's down, and that general rule, if you're on top of the Terran's production and it lasts for a little bit of time, then you probably just win the game.
Yeah, that was by no means a clean victory for Stats. He did proxy his Stargate and whatnot, but like his defense against the Hellions was actually quite bad. Like especially when the Hellions came in his main base, it's better not to move the probes than to have them all clump up in a little hallway for the Flames to kill. So definitely some weirdness there. You know, obviously they're multitasking on multiple ends, trying to deal damage and stop damage.
It's kind of funny because we were initially saying, "Oh, Protoss has got this," and then we saw the Banshee come in, and we're like, "Okay,
well, that's
Terran's
so
got
many
this."
kills.
And then when you see that he actually has the Oracle banked up with enough energy to then tag all the mines, it becomes then straightforward that Protoss can roll over the Terran. But that was a cool game to cast. That was a little bit of a learning experience.
Definitely a down and dirty one. And I
Absolutely.
think that kind of shows as well why I'm saying that maybe Forte is the guy that can make an upset here. Like, you look at a game like that, that could have gone to Forte, right? Like, if the Oracle hadn't come home and tagged both Banshees, he would have had 0 probes left. And then you can, as a Terran, like, lose all your SCVs and you're fine.
Well, also, it seems like Stats is a player that has definitely experienced that exact situation before. He seemed to know perfectly what to do.
Yeah, like warping in all those units up there.
Well, it didn't occur to me that he would just send one Oracle back in the Phoenix. I guess in retrospect that seems obvious, but I actually thought he was going to try to warp in Stalkers or something to deal with that. But no, he had a perfect answer. He warps in Stalkers at the proxy pylon, sends just one Phoenix back. He doesn't seem to be that concerned with how many probes he's going to lose in that whole process because he kills the SCVs before the probes start dying. So there's already momentum on Stats' side. Then he comes in there and closes it out. So really good handling there by Stats.
Certainly it was. Forte just so unready, making all those Hellions and losing the few Marines, as you said early on, to the
also,
Adept.
if you look back in that game, something we didn't really have time to talk about was the fact that the Hellions got into the base and it almost seemed like Forte wasn't even ready for that to happen. The Hellions actually ran in the exact middle of the worker line, had the probes just attack moved and surrounded the Hellions, they would have killed it.
Well, it's hard to multitask in these situations for sure. You know, you're trying to both deal massive damage while not taking enough massive damage, and you know, the littlest things can really make a difference there. Like when Stats pulled all his probes in the main base and stacked them all up, he's like, "Hey, kill a lot of these." Like, oh man.
Okay, we are going to game number 2 on Proxima Station. Let's see if Forte can turn this series around.
You can fly, you can tell them that you tried, but there ain't no going back. They'll never catch me.
In the upper right, in the blue.
Gold, Splice, Stats.
Blue and gold because he's Protoss.
Yeah. In the bottom left, in the red, our Terran player, he is
Forte.
Oh. Okay, see what Forte is made of in this game. I don't expect it to really look anything like the last one. Command center first, it's looking like out of Forte.
Yeah, that's not surprising on this map either, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good build for the map, really. You know, there's the only thing with Command Center first, because I like it as a build overall against Protoss, but Protoss can get truly greedy or truly all in against it, and both are a little bit difficult to deal with. You know, like if you do a massive Adept all in, or you can just go up to 3 bases off of like an Oracle, you know, and have your economy catch up and then maybe even surpass Terran at that point.
And Stats, the way he's approaching this, I'm not at all surprised, because I feel like when you have one player that's better than the other with these two builds, well, I should say with this build Terran's doing, I think it's wiser for the Protoss player to just try to go the macro route, because you should end up ahead of him anyways in the later part of the game. Whereas I think maybe if you're more evenly matched, it might be more desirable to try to do something super aggressive.
Oh, like a big Glaive Adept all in or something.
Like if you're against Innovation, maybe you can try to do that.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, I think Stats is just a better, more well-rounded player. I mean, if you feel like you're better than somebody in an RTS, the general rule is you just play a pretty standard game, and you'll probably come out on top. So you don't need to be fancy. There's nothing that necessitates that.
Yeah. Or sometimes you'll get a clever player that'll try to counter that specifically. But now, the Observer just showed that he didn't see the factory, and that's only important because he might think that there is a proxied one, but he certainly knows that a factory's on the way. A lot of times with the command center first, you go into 3 barracks behind it and just make a bunch of units and hit like a mid-game timing.
Yeah.
But here he's decided to tech right up, and Stats saw that from grabbing both the gases. So definitely a lot of intel as he goes into his own Stargate.
So, in this game, can Forte actually pull out a macro game? I think Forte's macro is actually pretty decent. I think Forte is actually a pretty solid Terran all around. This is kind of like the Terran that you would want to practice with if you're going to go up against another top-tier Terran.
Yeah, he's...
Test your builds out.
Like, we don't consider him a top-tier Terran, but he's still, like, young. He's still up-and-coming. I forget if I even said, but this was Salvation way back in the day. So he has been around. Like, people know who he is, and definitely he has shown some great skills, especially, like, eliminating Bjorn. I mean, not Bjorn, Peel. Hey, Bjorn, that would be crazy tonight, but...
He's already out.
Oh, my God. Bjorn not going to BlizzCon? What is that? Yeah, Bjorn is not past the cutoff point for BlizzCon yet.
Yeah, that's right.
It's always sad when the defending champ doesn't make it. And SOS generally does that to us every other year. He doesn't go. Like,
yeah.
He's like, I think like 2 years in a row. Didn't he finish like the place like 17th or something? Where it's just like.
I thought it was staggered. It was like he didn't make it 1 year, and then he made it back, and
yeah.
then he didn't make it another year.
But all the years he didn't make it, he was the cutoff point.
Yeah.
Which was, like, hilariously funny.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Cloak being upgraded, along with a Raven coming out here for Terran. It used to be that we'd see a Raven coming, and we'd say that means that he's going to go for, a super late turtley game. But nowadays, you can use the Raven to come in there and try to chuck maybe a turret in there. And Raven's kind of... The role of the Raven's become a little bit more ambiguous now, as it seems like there's just more stuff you can kind of do with it. People have actually started using it less like it's some kind of a science vessel in Brood War, and more of like a tactical unit that's just sort of handy to have, and there's a lot of tricks you can pull off with it.
In the early game, in this matchup, I think it's kind of like a flying cyclone, where it's like it doesn't necessarily scale that well later on. Like, you don't really care as Protoss if they have Ravens later on, but early on it's kind of scary between point defense drone and the turrets and the detection. By the way, is he going to let this? Yeah, he's going to let the Cloak finish. I was thinking that maybe he was faking that because of Cloak Banshee last game.
Yeah, I was actually almost holding back on commenting on the Cloak because I wanted to see if he canceled, because we've seen this before, especially in the season of the GSL, where people go halfway with Cloak and then opt out of it unless they see an opportunity where they can use it. I'm sorry, he doesn't have any Banshees out yet, right? There's one coming here.
Yeah.
What do you think about him getting the Banshee after the Raven versus getting the Banshee first and then sending the Raven out?
I think that it's fine, because if you do it this way, then Cloak is already done as the Banshee comes out, so he has to use detection. And then it also allows your Raven to build up more mana.
Also, I guess if the Banshee comes late enough, they don't even expect it.
Yeah,
you know, there's a cutoff point with certain units in the game where if you don't see it, you just assume it will never come.
Yes.
And then it can show up later on. In this case, though, it seems like Protoss is going to be completely prepared. So this is going to put Forte in a bad spot, assuming the stat. Yeah, so here we go.
Yep, and that will obviously kill the Banshee rather quickly. A few kills will go down, though.
Yeah, only 2 probe kills. So the Banshee, if you combo in the price of the Banshee and the price of the Cloak, that was a pretty big loss there for Forte.
Now, this is a very big macro build coming out of Forte, by the way. Having that 3rd command center start, he's very tech-heavy at the moment. A Cloaked Banshee, some siege tanks, all this stuff.
By the way, this little pressure up here in the front, I love this, because just delaying the command center at all is huge. If you're going to go macro.
And especially when he realizes what has occurred here build order-wise, the fact that he has seen like a Banshee with Cloak as well as a Raven, kind of tells him that there's no drops on the map, right?
Yeah.
So he can have all of his units up here. He doesn't even have to really be looking at things at home. So this is allowing him to put a ton of pressure on. He's dealt with everything at home, and if he just flies up and starts tagging things, this is like complete information control for Stats. It's going to be hard for Forte to ever sneak out any drop harassment.
Okay, a nice little tag here, allowing Protoss to basically monitor what... Okay, 2 really good tags.
Dude,
so
yeah.
Forte is basically on lockdown right now. There's nothing that would make sense for Forte to just push out or like try to drop, because Protoss can monitor the movement so effectively. And Protoss got the 3rd base up a little bit more quickly, and the last gateway is just finishing up. So the momentum of production is going to be pretty huge here for Stats.
Having the 4th base going up and Colossus Tech already on the way, and the amount of information he's getting, I'm loving it. Like, I can't really see, especially considering you just got a Prism, I can't see Forte hitting any attacks before Colossus are out. It's just not really going to be doable. And so, like, Stats has gotten everything he wanted. Everything. Like, there isn't anything missing for Stats. But Forte actually realizes this. Look at this. Fusion Core right now off of 3 bases and a second starport. So I think he's looking at this and saying, okay, yeah, you have everything you want, but, you know, will Stats go into Tempest and be able to stop this? Or, you know, obviously you can outmaneuver sometimes this type of tech, the Ranged Liberator.
We've got the Adepts coming in now, and this is a very, very modest and great way to delay the Terran here. It's low risk and can potentially be high reward. Well, I guess I thought he was going to try to pick those up, but I guess he's going to hemorrhage some of those Adepts. But you know what? Killing 9 SCVs is completely worth it. And Artosis, which one of these controls the volume in my headset down here? Is it this yellow one? Okay, sure. It's a little bit too loud in my headset.
Okay, well.
A little bit too much passion in your voice right now. Yeah, okay, I've got the volume adjusted.
Well, now I'm going to start talking a lot louder! How's that for you?
That's great. That's perfect.
Okay, okay, so, you know, yeah, he killed 8 SCVs, but the most valuable thing that occurred there is seeing the exact timing of the Fusion Core. This for Stats is so important. It tells him exactly what's coming out. He's going to know that he needs to have some air units patrolling around his expansions to make sure that he does not simply get denied mining and have to move way out of position, because Stalkers won't be able to deal with that. But also, it lets him know that he needs to be active forward on the map. If Ranged Liberators get into position outside of your expansions, you're going to be dead. If you meet them out in the middle, you can outmaneuver them.
By the way, Stats is doing the exact perfect way to keep control in this game. You want to continuously tag the Terran air units, specifically the Liberators and the Medivacs. Like, something I think we've never really talked about, but the first tagging of the Medivacs in a PvT is actually the most important.
Yeah.
Because if you can keep tagging them over and over, the Terran basically can't get out.
Yeah.
If you can manage to hide or spread the location of some of the Medevacs,
which we almost never see anyone do even at the pro level.
Yeah, we never really see it, but just in theory, if you can actually stop or prevent the first tagging, because Protoss will just keep doing it over and over again, and then Terran's limited on options, then you're going to be in very good shape. But just an idea to throw out there, that would be a really good way to try to, if you're a Protoss player and you want to beat Terrans, keep that up. If you're a Terran player, you want to try to avoid that at all costs. Because Vision really is actually the most powerful thing in RTS, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like this is why we have to have a Fog of War. If it was like some of the Command and Conquers where like the idea didn't cross them to just be like, well, maybe you should not see what they're doing. You know? Just like in real war.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to hide stuff.
That's pretty funny.
I know. But yeah, I mean,
people wonder why StarCraft is by far the best RTS.
I'm like, well, it's because you can't see everything.
Yeah.
That was don't tell anybody this. Is there any other game developers listening? You're in on the secret now. That
please make more RTSs that are good.
And then eventually we're gonna have a MOBA that comes out where you can just see everything each other are doing. And people are like, well, this sucks, but we can't figure out why. Well, hold up. Terran's actually pushing out now, and this is a really undesirable positional setup here. Stats was under the Liberators for way too long. That was the worst. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
That was a shocking engagement.
That was so bad.
And he actually hasn't done the rocks here yet, so his unit's way out of position as this is coming up. Oh my God. Stalker's actually walking around.
Wait. We just saw a bunch of... Did Stalkers get killed by Widow Mines back there at the bottom left, just off screen?
I think it was just rallying units that killed him, to be honest.
Really?
Now, look at this setup. Okay, this is actually really fantastic that he gets a warp in, but is this going to be enough? Because the Liberators now are set up because Stats had some kind of like wonky engagements.
We were sitting here praising Stats this whole game, but you got to be able to use your army properly. Yeah, there's enough Liberators that actually Stats cannot attack 2 very different areas on the map right now.
Yeah, this is very tough. He's starting to lose some of his economy. He's doing a lot of damage over here, so this is very good and very important indeed, but it is going to be cleaned up, and this attack at his front is scary. Luckily, no reinforcements are coming, so he can, over time, whittle it down some.
Nice.
That was sick.
That was actually a big save there. That might actually hold him at bay here for a little bit. Now, there's no Medivacs back there in the Terran's main, so even though these Marines and Marauders could clean up a good amount of this, it's not enough. there's only, I would see now 1 medevac, excuse me. But that's not enough. So the damage here is beginning to spill over into the Terran's ability to push. Terran actually can't really gain any momentum. And even though Stats really screwed up early on, and trying to engage that big Terran army, it seems like he's actually sandbagged the Terran enough that I think Stats is still going to come out here with a win.
This drop into the back natural that worked out, like a Widowmine even hit that prism, but then he just like moved it and nothing ever hit it again. So this is how Stats is going to end up winning this game if he wins, is simply this mass amount of warpins in that main base, which that's kind of painful because he definitely made some mistakes here, and Forte came out with a pretty good strategy, but now Forte is moving very slowly. He's losing all of his production.
Yeah,
well, like how long did it take for him to move down here to kill a fourth?
The positions that have been seized here by both sides are quite different. You can see Terran has this pretty big death ball that's just very, very difficult for Protoss to fully engage and dismantle, but Protoss is actually inside the inner workings of the Terran base and slowing down units coming out. It seems like only just now is this actually cleaned up, leaving the supplies about 140 to 120. Actually, okay, you know what? Hold on. I actually think I might have been wrong. I think Forte can win this still.
Yeah, like he can still win. And again, like if Stats wins, it's completely off of that thing that we just saw in the main base that lasted 100 years. Look at this. He's actually picking
There's
off
actually
a Tempest.
nothing to stop Liberators here.
Oh my god.
Uh-oh.
That's so painful.
But what about air
Liberators
units?
just kill everything.
Yeah.
Look at that anti-air attack. Wow, it's pretty sick.
Just 1 sentry with a Guardian Shield running around.
He even has a point defense drone. Look at how much that's paying off. That's kind of crazy.
Oh, no. Stats, no!
Stats with just about nothing left here.
Yeah. Well, it seems like, you know, with all that's been said in this game, the improper unit composition may just be enough to take out the remainder of the Protoss' army. So Forte is going to win game number 2. Really nicely done. Big upset here. GG.
Yeah, Stats played a very good game, except for that one engagement that we saw, where all the Liberators sieged up and he just went forward. He sent off a whole bunch of Disruptor shots, Purification Novas, if you will, that didn't quite work out. And it's like there are certain tricks to engaging Liberators with Purification Novas. You like send them out, force units back so that the Stalkers don't get shredded while they kill them, right? But that's not really what Stats did. He's just like, I'm going to engage now! And then it's like you can't really engage under Liberators. It's such a tricky thing, and just as a general rule, to all humans on Earth, as Protoss, do not engage under Liberators. It is very tough. He was far enough out in the map. I feel like he could have whittled it down over time more, but instead he did a full engage and lost way too much.
Well, it is a testament to the fact that you can be doing everything right, but if you don't know how to use that big army, I'm not saying that Stats doesn't know how to use that army, but he didn't use it correctly that last game.
Yeah,
and you can still lose a game. It's not just about the strategy and getting everything set up. You do have to engage properly.
So Stats now 1-1 against Forte here, going into Abyssal Reef.
All right, guys, this is game number 3. Let's see if Stats can close us out, or if Forte will, in fact, cause an upset in our first best of 3 in today's GSL Code S. In the upper left, in the blue, he is
Splice Stats.
Some close games this series for a champion.
Absolutely, yeah. In the bottom right, in the red,
Forte.
And Forte, putting up good fights. Both games have been really down and dirty ones with a lot of like base trading type of scenarios happening. Both sides taking huge amounts of damage.
Putting up good fights first, fans.
Yeah. But Forte has done like quite well, I would say, strategically here. You know, that last game specifically, how he let Stats do everything. He got a lot of tech units, but then he realized that he just needed to go kind of mass range Liberator. It was like, I like that that idea from him, basically, because a lot of times you just see him like, okay, now I move out, and Protoss like, but I got to do everything I wanted, so you're dead. But if you go into range Liberators, that just makes it hard. It's hard for Protoss to get everything and Tempest out at the right time to counter that. And we saw Stats didn't even want to go to Tempest until the last moment.
Okay, the probe is continuing to bounce around here. And check out what Terran's up to. I think Forte is definitely bringing this game build-wise into the right direction. I think realizing, wait a minute, I just beat Stats in a straight-up game.
Yeah, he did. It was a complete macro game.
because when you look at game 1, I'm not surprised to see that Banshee like proxied over there. Thanks for coming down, brother. I gotta say, when you see that cloak, you know, when you have an underdog and you see him proxy in the first game, I get it.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, try to pull a fast one on him. But then in game 2, when he plays a normal game and realizes it works, why would you not do that?
It was just very, okay.
No, I saw Base God, no tears.
Yeah, something about wrestling. Perhaps Jimmy's, perhaps not. Who knows?
I think that whoever the message was for, they got it for sure.
They probably got it. Hopefully they're watching GSL right now.
Yeah, if not, they're messing up, man. Okay, so the Reaper's out now. Going to see what Protoss is up to. Not too much you can glean from this so far. And Stargate is sort of the standard thing Protoss tend to do. And in fact, it's almost crazy to not get a Stargate now in the current meta of PvT.
Pretty much. Like, I guess there's a few robo builds you can do and stuff. Everything else is a little bit off-brand, but especially on this map, like, this map is a little bit hard for PvT just because of all the kind of the thin areas where you can, like, for instance, siege the natural expansion from the low ground with that tiny little choke. It can be hard for Protoss there, and you know, there's a lot of air space behind the natural that can be harassed a bit. So this Stargate, like, I think, to be honest, like, Adept Phoenix might be the best call for stats here. Just something very solid to make sure Forte can't hit him with any tricky timings.
Okay, Oracle on the way now. And we have, Stats does this actually a decent amount. When we see a pylon put outside their base, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be used right away. A lot of times it's a measure he's taking so that he'll have guaranteed counterattacks later on.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. And this is like one of the big things with top-end Protoss is where you can really tell who's who. Is the very best pros will always have things like a pylon out on the map or a prism out on the map.
There's almost no reason to not do it.
It's 100 minerals.
It's 100 minerals, and it's an opportunity to potentially just win a game with a counter.
Yeah. Warping is a cool mechanic.
Like, we actually should just see it all the time. In fact, I almost feel like we should see 2 pylons, like one on each side.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
I agree with that.
Oh no!
Wow. Okay, he was going for a double Oracle build, so this will mean that he still has detection when anything comes. But that is so painful. To lose your first Oracle is like one of the worst things that can happen.
And you know, a lot of that is more Stats' fault than really Forte's brilliance. I mean, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Forte this game at all, guys, but just if you look at it, like, that's not a new occurrence.
Yeah.
Flying into the perimeter of a Terran's base and then losing it to a Widow Mine.
No,
you have to know at this point in time that there's risks for that. And if you are going to fly anywhere within their area, it's not like if you lose it in the middle of the map. I have a different feel for that one.
Yeah.
Where you got to say that's pretty unfortunate. But yeah, if you're flying in the Terran's perimeter, you got to be ready, dude.
It's quite true. Like, you know, some of these that we've seen, like, remember Ryung, where he was putting mines? He was, like, going way out to try it.
Oh, yeah.
Because some of the guys he was playing were looking for it as they got close, so he'd just be like, middle of the map, let's do this. Alive was doing that a lot, too, and it was like, it was getting quite comical at that point. The meta of where to put your mine to catch an Oracle. What was funny about it was I'd look at it and
just think, like, where the hell do we go from here? What is this?
Yeah.
But it seems like people have backed off a little bit from it. Probably because there was a point in time where Protoss started to catch the Widow Mines wandering around the middle of the map. So a bit of a gamble there. Now, with the Oracle being taken out, let's go back to that thing we were talking about earlier, Artosis. You know, the first tag on the Medivacs is the most important.
It is, indeed.
Because if you can maintain the rhythm of just tagging those Medivacs over and over and over again, the Terran usually can't leave their base. But I was going to say, because he lost that Oracle, we might have that slowed down here.
Yeah.
But he does tag this initial army. By the way, Forte does not care.
No, well, he's gone for siege tanks, right? So this is one of those timing pushes.
Yeah.
And with Glaives instead of Blink being the upgrade of choice, Stats is fighting this head on. He doesn't have a whole lot of tricks to pull. Maybe a stasis ward here and there. Here we see him standing in the bushes trying to catch something.
Well, then he came out of the bushes.
Yeah.
Now,
back to the bushes.
Now, this is a technique that Protoss has used since the siege tank was first seen in RTS. You force the Terran to siege up, and then you run back. And actually, this is, I mean, I don't know if it's going to work, but what Stats is doing is what he's supposed to do here.
Look at that stasis ward, and he has picked off so much.
Yeah.
This micro from Stats is really on point. And
good pickup.
I think that we also have to Ooh, that's
good scan.
Like, if he had walked into that with everything, then Stats holds the push 100%. But where he's setting up, this is very hard to break. Very hard to break.
Yeah. He's going to be able to siege up over here. Now, I will say, though, in fairness, I do believe that... Oh, he's going for it.
He's just going to break right now.
Yeah. he did do enough damage back there that I think that he just cleans up this army. So what Forte was trying to do, the idea was good, but he executed it poorly. So just to sum this all up, when Protosses see siege tanks coming out with a big army, and obviously the big threat of siege tanks is them in siege mode.
Yeah.
You want to try to engage it, and then once they siege up, you back away. And Forte even further fell into the trap by then stimming and chasing without the siege tanks there.
Yeah.
The Stalkers are completely fine taking on the army that's not comprised of the siege tanks there.
I think that's exactly where it went wrong. You know, he had such a good idea, but to lose half of your units before you even get there, and then the amount he slowed him down, let's not forget, Stats is getting more warp-ins at his base, and he just comes out and breaks you before your bunker's done.
Oh, he will still get that Oracle, kind of funny. I believe there's one more Widow Mine inside that medevac, by the way. I think it's headed inside the main.
You're right.
But if Terran, if Protoss holds the rest of this up, I believe a counterattack just wins the game. Am I incorrect about this?
Let's take a look. You definitely could be right. Like, there's not going to be enough defense to save SCVs. Yeah. There's no walls at all except going up to the main base, which means the natural and third base, these SCVs should be mincemeat to adept attacks.
Glaives and Blink are going to be done. Well, Glaives is already done. Blink is about to be finished. So watch, this Blink is going to finish just in the last second, and he's going to go right underneath it, and that's going to be 2 less medevacs.
Nope,
he's not going to do that at all. Don't listen to what I'm saying, guys.
Sorry, what did you say?
Nothing. Nothing of value.
So, yeah, but this, like, right now, Stats, it feels like he might be able to do the critical damage he needs here. See the SCVs being pulled back immediately. Yeah, this is so many units coming up.
Okay, he's coming forward now. Now, those Adepts were actually cleaned up pretty handedly in the upper right, but he goes ahead and keeps these other Adepts over here hitting this expansion. I believe that eventually Terran gets broken here, right? It's one siege tank and then a small group of infantry.
I think he needs to lift his third, and he can live. I'm not saying he's going to win from there, but
he won't be knocked out of the game yet.
Yeah, like if he continually sends SCVs back to this third right now, I don't foresee it doing too much. Ooh, that's a really good Widow Mine hit, though.
Yeah, that was shockingly good. Let's see, though. I mean, Stats, I don't think is too concerned. I think he's aware that if he just focuses in here, he should. If he does it right, maybe not with the Liberators. I think I spoke too soon.
Well,
I really thought he was going to bust in there, but yeah, I guess if there's 2 Liberators, that area there is so narrow. It's very hard to deal with.
Well, you can't really attack through the front if there's units there, right? Because it is so thin. The Adepts have done some damage. I felt like they do a little bit more than what we've seen, but the Forte's defense has been good. And it looks like he does get to just mine from this area. I'm a little bit surprised about that. But Stats is kind of pulled back as well, right? He's continuing his upgrades. He's going into 2 Robo-Colossus, getting a 4th base. All the correct follow-up moves. And this should help him to stay in a position where he's not really afraid of dying at any point.
Okay, well, you can see Stats is still hungry to try to get in there. Oh, you know what? This is just too open.
Oh, this is funny.
You forgot
could force
to lock
field
the
that
front
very
door.
easily,
too. Okay.
Oh, that's a good
that's one way. That's one way to do it. Now, you can see that Protoss does not want to overextend here because he is, like, in the heart of the Terran's base. Looks like he might be able to get that Immortal.
You see these just rubbing against that force field right
now. We're back in 2010 right now.
I know. That's what I'm thinking about. They're just wiggling there.
Okay, the Adepts are actually connecting right now and doing a lot of damage to these SCVs. I feel like Forte is able to solidify and, like, stabilize here, but I don't know if he will. There will eventually, though, be a point in time where Forte has an opportunity to try to push out, and that Protoss 4th base is going to be where he's going to be going.
Yeah, and it looks to me, Tasteless, like he just finished the fusion core, right? So we'll see him go once again for ranged Liberators. And I mean, if you're in doubt as a Terran, if you look at this and at any point against Protoss and decide that you just can't really do anything if you move out, ranged Liberators are going to be the way that you can maybe force them into an awkward position, or maybe they'll take a bad engage like we saw from Stats in the previous game. So I quite like that, but...
Wait, the Widow Mine actually planted!
Whoa. Okay.
That should have
gone way worse.
Yeah, I know. The Widow Mine was actually covered up by the medevac for a second, but it did get down there, did connect. Let's see, though. Forte now is going to try to come out here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with how aggressively he's moving out, especially considering at this moment he's teching up heavily. So like it's just to kind of see him on the map right now. I guess it's all right because the Colossus haven't really joined in the army yet, so it's still basically gateway based. But if he like loses a big chunk of units, Stats is just going to get a big smile on his face.
Absolutely, he will. Looks like this Liberator was going to get thrown away. But still some pressure over here on the back. Terran is with map control right now, pushing up through the center. Now, this is another one of these weird moments where the Protoss might go around the Terran. In fact, that's exactly what's happening. They're both unaware of where each other's armies are.
Yeah, and so this stem run-in is actually fantastic. Going to be able to take down this natural Nexus. No units there to stop it, and he actually is stopping the Prism Tases, so this is not really a base trade yet, but Stats going to move up with the rest of his army.
Yeah, Stats has decided to just go for it. Now, let's see where he attacks. I believe he'll try to go up the ramp here, because if he can get up there, then there's just nothing Terran can do. Minus, I guess he could use Liberators in a defensive way, but there's also another approach Protoss can have where they just take out all the bases.
Yeah, he's killing a ton of SCVs here as well. Maybe he'll be able to get this command center. But Liberator range is just about to finish, and he can definitely... No! What is this? Oh, and Stats does not target them down.
He doesn't utilize the position he had. They both did it wrong. That's not how you do it.
Bunch of red medevacs full of units just unloading under Stalkers. Ah! But now that Liberator range is done, this is where Forte can maybe, turtle up and stay alive. He just needs to stabilize this right now. Yeah, he lost a lot, but his tech is actually a little bit better than Stats.
Liberators are what is keeping, at this point in time, Forte in the game. But I think the sheer number of Stalkers, I think he can actually just blink it in there.
Maybe.
Because the Colossi, I think, can win the fight on the ground.
Oh, God, he's actually moving a little bit far forward with those Marauders. It's a tad bit scary there. Stats might try to finish him here, and this is where it can go wrong. Stalkers die very quickly to Stim Marine Marauders, so
that's true.
If he enters into this kind of kill zone, and those Stalkers, if the numbers get a little bit low, then suddenly we can just see the game go to Forte. Like, if Stats loses that whole army, Forte will win.
Oh, was the depot torn down at the entrance of the main? Can he actually shade in there?
You might be right about that. I'm not sure.
I think the Colossus might have killed it when they were hitting that. Because that's another opportunity is the Protoss never has to commit to engaging the Liberators. You can always go around them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of Adepts getting in here. No SCVs left to kill, though.
And very smartly done here. But oh my God. Okay. No, you know what? I think he gets in there in time. And, because the Marauders were the only units that were pulled back in the main, there's not enough muscle on the ground. And these Colossi, I think, can win this game. If the Stalkers can get in the front, though.
Well, there's a lot of Marauders stimming here, trying to catch things. Oh, God. It's just...
it's not enough. I think that's game.
And, I mean, Forte even has a very nice counter drop during all this on the 4th.
Ooh,
definitely a few little positional errors by Forte, leaving your Liberators completely alone.
GG, Stats with the great tactics in the late game. Dude, dismantles Forte.
Yeah, and Forte actually could have won this series. He could have won both these last two games. I guess he won the middle game, right? But this last game, Liberators are exactly like, let's say, Broodlords, they're exactly like Tempest, they're exactly like Sea Chains. These kind of slow, immobile, long-range units, you can never leave completely alone. You cannot do it. Like, if he had half of his Marauders under those Liberators, he would have actually held that when the Stalkers came and killed everything. So definitely a few small mistakes coming out of Forte, costing him the series, but putting up a good one against Stats.